Good evening to everyone viewing at home. Once again, it's your boy SuperSquid. This time, introducing the season opener of the Amigos Racing Team Championship. We're in season 8 now of an incredibly popular and successful series. If you want to get involved in the many racing disciplines we've got on offer for Gran Turismo 7 and still GT Sport in the meantime, check out the link to our Discord in the description below. As we said, we are checking out the Tier 2 drivers to start off the season, although our Tier 1 drivers will also be in the same situation, following us here at the Daytona Road Course in Group 4 machinery. The picks for this evening, I believe, are the Subaru WRX, as you can see here, with Urban Fire at the helm and airbag. We've got Majid here in the Nissan GTR, as is Calm Tone, another fan favourite there, and Cartel Racing, new to the series, new to the Amigos, or the Mitsubishi Evo 10, as driven here by Big Crazy Bertie. So the format for tonight is we're going to have a 3-lap qualifying session, which I believe the drivers are just getting their teeth into now. That will then be followed, if I can find the race information again, I seem to have misplaced it somewhere. That will then be followed by a 21-lap race. We're going to have ×3 tyre wear, ×4 fuel consumption, light damage, fortunately for these guys, and only on soft tyres. So there will be questions raised as to who can save their tyres the best and who's going to need to pop in for another set. So running through the grid one more time, we talked about there, we had an airbag, you go up to the top, we've got airbag, Majid, I think, with a big lock up there, or maybe a bit of outside tyre fire there. We've got Cartona in 3rd, Urban Fire 4th, Cartel 5th, JRM, hopefully not up to his usual JRM things, in P6, currently see if he improves on his first hot lap. He goes up into P2, an excellent lap there from JRM. We've got Matt237 there, currently 7th. Daddy Mike, who's I think in 8th there, but now pumped himself back up to 3rd, with an excellent time from him there, a 1:56.5. We've got Voodoo here, hopefully at home at Daytona Speedway. And we've got ATC Dog rounding out the pack for the time being. Not the best luck for him there, 2:15, so maybe got impeded by some traffic. We'll have to have a look. We're riding aboard though with Airbag, one of the dominant drivers, formerly in Tier 1, based on the driver lights from previously. I think he's probably quite a strong candidate to take Tier 2 for the rest of the season, if not, walk it. But we have seen from Airbag, he can be prone to mistakes. So really for him, it's all about keeping it consistent. So let's see with Airbag as he rides through that'll be NASCAR might be NASCAR 4, I suppose, over the last corner into the finish straight, and there with a 1:55.6, so just about half a second ahead of JRM there. So of course, we're not using the brand new Daytona track there as they would in NASCAR with the second chicane. We're just looking at the first one, or the bus stop, which will be turns 9 and 10 after NASCAR 2. Let's run board though with Airbag as he tries to make his way onto a better lap. This will be his last flying lap. And I really love this kind of hanging camera angle from the inside of the Subaru. Unfortunately, we can't spin the camera around as I'd like to, but you can see just about where he's braking there. You see the camera swinging in as he goes for the early apex. Power down. Now all the cars here with 4-wheel drive tonight, so you should have excellent traction off the corners, provided they don't burn through those soft tyres. Hitting the brakes there, just over 100 miles an hour, down to 3rd gear. Maybe could have been a little earlier on the power, I'm not sure, but using all the exit there as JRM takes pole and takes Matt237 up into P2. So Airbag really has to pull something out of the bag if he wants to get that pole position back. Let's see how he does as he heads out of NASCAR 1 through NASCAR 2. We can't really tell these corners are, let's be honest, Daytona, come on. And up here towards me, maybe about 150 miles an hour, I think, before he hits the brakes, maybe at the second brake marker there. I believe it's very late for the first marker. Clip the bus stop there over both yellow curbs. Maybe it's a little bit wide for the last one there. Got to keep back to the inside of the track to not get a penalty on the exit. and he's 3/10 up on his best. He's almost good enough there for pole position. I think we'll have to see if he can keep it nice and tight and flat all the way through the final bend there, heading towards the start-finish straight. So you get a nicer cinematic camera of it as he goes through the penalty lines there on the left and right hand side of the track. Past the Geico restart zone, and he will cross the line very tight to the apex. Oh, by the skin of his teeth, a 1:55.319, so only 100th of a second in it. Has JRM got anything to answer with as he heads towards the end of the second sector there? No, not so sure. He got 4/10 down on his previous best lap time. He's going to have an absolute blinder of a final sector if he wants to match that. He's getting very late on the brakes. Clips those first apexes nicely, just balancing the throttle. Oh, he's kind of cut that yellow curb there. Is that going to incur a penalty? I'm not too sure. Oh, he's saved about 3/10 of a second, but I'm not really sure he's going to pull it back as he heads around the last corner. We're going to have to see as he hits the absolute top of the rev limiter there, now up into 6th gear. We've got Cartel Racing. It's on the outside of the track that maybe had a track penalty to serve there. Gerald crossed the line with a 1:55, and he's taken it back. 1:55.2, an excellent lap from JRM. That will see him pit airbag to pole position, it looks like. Airbag there has pulled over to the side of the road. Matt, I don't think it's getting any more time out of him. Actually, I haven't said that he's on his final lap, so it's runnable then with Matt instead. No, I think he's pulled out of that one then, so nothing from him. Mike's done his up there. He'll be staying P4. Cantona, I think it's finished as well. He'll be P5. Urban Fire's pulled over as well, as has Majid. Lelinski, I think, is stopped there. He's got P8 there. Dog in 9th. Voodoo is, I believe he's finished there. He's got a wonderful view here. The F-Lays in the background as well. I think he's done it. P10 for Voodoo. And 30 seems to have pulled up quite a few penalties there to have P7 them over the finish line. White Snake in P12. I think joined the session quite late, so maybe they'll give it a chance to do a lap as well. Cartel in the pits for some reason. I'm not too sure what's happened to him there. Penalties in every lap, he says. So looks like he'll be quite certainly starting from the back. Let me see what White Snake's going to be up to then, because I think he maybe had some connection issues and had to rejoin. So let's see what he's got. If he can slither his way up the standings. So if you are watching at home, make sure you interact with the channel. Please put some comments on if you can, provided it's not been made for kids again. I think it has. Let's sort that one out now. So throw a comment on the video. Who do you think is going to be our winner for race 1? I think it's probably going to be Airbag, but if JRM keeps it together, he's definitely got some pace in him. I would also not put it past Lelinski. Might not be the fastest on 1 lap pace, but he is very strategically minded. He might well have something to say later in the proceedings. So let's make sure we just let all those guys Discord know that the chat is now enabled as well. So we've still got White Snake there yet to complete his out lap. So maybe just while he finds his way around the last few corners or so. Let's get just a little bit of a background here on the Daytona road course. So of course based at Daytona International Speedway, which kind of really started going in 1959, so it's about a 63-year-old track here. Of course, home to the NASCAR series, where it's NASCAR and NASCAR Xfinity, Camping World Truck Series as well. I've not seen many of those trucks around, but I'm sure they are very exciting as well. Of course, IMSA drives here as well. You'll see many races with the Le Mans prototypes and the GT3 cars as well, which is always exciting to watch. For that, I think it's a couple hours to Daytona. They got the Rolex 24 as well. They host Supercross and sport bikes as well, so a real variety of events on offer at Daytona. The sports car course, the road course as we know it, this layout here was formed in 1985. Had a subtle change in 2020 for NASCAR with with an extra chicane added in at the very end of the lap, just before start-finish line by the restart zone. And that's offering times of about what we're seeing here, actually. These 155s are more or less NASCAR times, which is very impressive to see. You know, these are very, very different pieces of machinery with a Japanese four-wheel drive as opposed to a big, brutish American meat muscle. So Whitesnake here heading down the second straight through the bus stop there, keeping those apexes quite nicely. Early on the power there, back up in a fourth gear, heading out the bus stop as he heads round NASCAR 3 and 4. Let's see what he's got in the bag as he heads on to his, although it's his first, maybe his only final lap, to see how nice the other guys have been to him in the lobby. Of course, his GTR definitely a bit heavier than the competition, the Subaru and the WRX, but has got more than enough grunt to make up for that weight, especially around a track like this. He's going to complete his lap at 156.4, so that's only good enough for P8, and I believe that's going to be his one and done. So any moment now, I believe we should be heading into our 21 lap special. So as we can see, all of our cars parked on the grass, spot of sunbathing here at Daytona. Of course, weather seems about nice. I think talking of weather, it's a bit of a shame. For some reason, the American tracks, you might be aware in GT7, have no rain. Not too sure why that is, obviously. I think it'd be great to see some rain mix-up preceding somewhere like Daytona Road Course. At Laguna Seca would be an incredible race if there was some rain. You can imagine the amount of drivers going off at the corkscrew would cause absolute carnage. And let's not even think about what rally tracks would be like in the wet. A Fisherman's Ranch in the rain, I don't think I could stand it. But for the time being, it is very much a pleasant setting here at Daytona. So hopefully it'll be underway in a matter of moments with our main event. So as we said before, JRM taking pole by half a tenth there from Airbag in P2. He's got about a quarter second up on his best time from Matt. Daddy Mike in P4. We've then got Cartona in 5th, so I think it's much more suited to his style of racing. It's good to see him in the midfield. We've got Urban Fire in 6th, less than a tenth behind P5 there, but still sharing the third row of the grid. Majid, one of our newcomers who joined our multi-class special a few weeks ago, is now with us in P7, 9 thousandths of a second ahead of Whitesnake, also in the GTR, yes, representing that wonderful iconic Pennzoil livery. Zielinski then demoted to P9 because of Whitesnake. Dog down into 10th place. Voodoo has parked up on the entrance to turn 1 in 11th there. Cartel in 12th. And Big Crazy Bertie bringing up the rear. Got a crazy livery on that. Mitsubishi looks excellent. Whoever that is that's dropped the like on the video, thank you very much. Very kind. So let's see who's going for a drive as we try and find something else to talk about. Urban Fire. Or maybe at least his AI has gone for a drive, it seems, with the flashing indicators. Yeah, I doubt that's him at the wheel. But it's something to watch at least. Tick in then leave. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, I've got to put a GR4 car in. Let's do that quickly. Maybe that's going to work then. I think maybe we'll jump out of that lobby just to see if it'll work again if we jump back in. Of course, these are many of the wonderful teething problems that Gran Turismo 7 has. I'm sure you've heard to no end my views of Gran Turismo being a totally unfinished game. But hopefully, if maybe they start when I leave, I can join back in for the race start. Of course, this is great. Nalinsky, poor Squiddy being made to leave. Well, it's just a bit annoying that all the people are starting to tune in now that the lobby isn't working. So you might end up missing the start of the race, which of course would be the most exciting part, I think. All these cars trying to find their lines into turn one. So if you are watching, please make sure they start the lobby now. And if we try and join now, we might have a little bit more luck. Please ignore the incredibly sacrilegious Alfa Romeo at the top in the Nissan livery. I saw it on the showcase and just couldn't help myself. So let's see if we get any luck now. Goodness me, what an absolute faff this is. Gone are the days when people could just start and, start a race and just watch it, just take part. Nalinsky says the lobby is closed now, so that's probably why I'm having problems trying to join a lobby that no longer exists. Perhaps if the game could realise that would be very helpful. Right, I'm going to do rolling start. Okay, Urban 5, if you're still watching, please start without me in quali order. Okay, so start the race without me, and then please message me once the race starts up so I can join in. Because, yeah, this is getting to be a bit of a pain. Thanks very much, mate. I cannot believe the absolute nonsense that we're having to put up with. And how long has this been out now? I think it's been at least a month. So many things. The fact they have to do weekly patches, adding in cars that people don't necessarily want. We couldn't earn any money at the start of the game. You can't join a lobby without endless amount of glitches. You can't change a lobby without closing it all down, kicking your friends out. It's incredible how this even got, even past quality control. And yes, it was delayed multiple times, and I know the last thing Sony wants to do is end up with Cyberpunk 2077 Gran Turismo edition. But it's almost laughable the way that this has been released. Completely unsuitable. And it's good that they are addressing these issues and getting them out regularly, but it's just so poor that it was allowed to be put out this way. Don't get me wrong, some of the aspects of the game are fantastic. The car details, the ray tracing, the day and night transitions, the weather is excellent. It's not on the same level as PC, of course, if you're playing Assetto Corsa or things like that, but it's excellent for a console. It's just that some of these other aspects, the ones that people are most keen on, are so shoddily put together. It really does, shake the enthusiasm you have for the game. Oh, well, the lobby's back, so actually I think I have to quickly jump out and then we're going to start the race. So if you are watching at home, I do apologise for the inconvenience. I think it may have been because I wasn't actually racing is what's caused the big issues there with starting the event, but hopefully it'll be underway in a moment. So I'm just going to wait for, hopefully someone in the lobby's going to message us on YouTube and then we're going to get going. So what I think they said they're going to do is do a rolling start. So I believe they'll just start the race as they can. They'll form up on the first lap, and then as soon as they hit lap 2 is when they'll pull the trigger, and hopefully we'll see some racing. So again, I can only apologise for the incredible mess up that's been caused because of this, but hopefully the racing will be underway soon, and we'll talk about something a little bit more exciting than just the menu music or the guy trying to run away from his problems in the top right corner of the screen. Because if you are still watching and your soul hasn't left your body yet, I'd love to know your thoughts on the Spanish Grand Prix from last weekend. I'd be very interested to hear what you got to say. Personally, I think it was a huge change from the absolute bore fests we've had over the last few years in Spain. Catalonia, of course, isn't a track known for overtaking possibilities, but we did see some really incredible driving and some great sportsmanship from, also racecraft, I should say, from the drivers this weekend. I think one of the particular highlights for me, even though I'm not a Verstappen fan, I must say, he made an excellent move. I think it was on Bottas around the outside of turn 3, which, you know, in cars prior would have been completely unheard of and unimaginable, but the move that was made there was fantastic. I can only feel for Charles Leclerc, who had a seemingly convincing win, really just ripped out from underneath him. Lewis Hamilton had an excellent drive as well, having had the initial accident and then gone back up to 5th. Great finish for him as well. I think it's just a shame. I think they had a water leak in the engine that caused some issues. So that would have been good to see him and Russell finish maybe near the podium together. And also, as well, on that note, an incredible run for George Russell. I think he's now 6 for 6 races in the top 5. So if he can keep the momentum going, he could definitely be with a shot of at least P3 in the Drivers' Championship, which would be a fantastic result for them. I'm being told here that ART Mike is now going to set up the lobby because we're having more issues with hosting, and an angry sweary face there from Urban Fire. So looks like we're going to be on hold for just a little bit longer. I think what we'll do while we're here, we'll quickly give you guys a run through of the used car dealership for the week and see what's been added. Particular highlights here would include the Sprinter Truno, if you've not got it already, an excellent car if you're into your drifting or a fan of Initial D. We've got the Samba bus over here. Of course, we're still waiting to get those engine swaps. Wow, the engine swaps off our roulette tickets. So if you do manage to grab one, make sure you stick it in here and get some nice Porsche action into that Samba bus. The 3-litre CSL, or the Batmobile as it's known, as well, with the incredible wide body kit. I recommend you buy this car just to fit that. It is insane. The Stratos as well, you know, the Rally Hero from Monte Carlo. Just grabbed one of those today. I'm very happy, looking forward to giving that a test drive as well. The iconic Evo 6 Tommy Mäkinen. Definitely worth getting your hands on that one for an all-wheel drive beast. If you've got some money to burn, the Countach 20th anniversary will be an excellent pick, or the NSX Type R down here as well. That incredible engine inside there, you know, the Ferrari killer of the day. Definitely worth picking up for that. We've got an R33 GTR down here as well, limited stock if you want to get one of those. We're really good if you're trying to get that drag race done in the mission specials that you're struggling with. A decent tune and maybe some nitrous might be the way to go, but you didn't hear it from me. And in fact here you've got both NSXs as well, so that'll be some interesting picks. One car I want to have a go, I've not really tried it much yet, will be here, the Porsche 911 Turbo. I'm still waiting for the chance to order my shifter, and my Fanatec brake load cell is broken, but hopefully they'll be fixing that soon. I think that might be getting collected next week. Then I'm going to get my shifter and give one of these a rip. That should be an excellent laugh. So Nalinsky saying that people are using mobile hotspots for connections, that might be a problem. And JRM saying that while they're doing Fusion, a streamer joined the race and then left once the race started. So people joining during races can also cause lag issues as well. Okay, what I think I'm going to do then, as before, if you guys can start the race, as soon as you're like counting down, then I think I might jump in your lobby, and we'll see if that works, because it might be a bit of a pain. Or if you'd rather, I can just join maybe the back of the grid, and I'll start with you, I think, if that's what you want me to do. But yeah, this is just a completely unfinished game that's really just screwing people over, so that needs to be sorted out soon, I hope. That's why we're waiting for just a little bit more feedback, maybe. See what's in the Legend car dealership, something that I'm running very short on money for. With only 500,000 credits to my name as I've been splurging on other cars. We've got Jaguar E-Type there, a Carrera 56, a lovely car there. Ferrari F50, that's what I ought to save up for, but I've just seen the Shelby GT350 and it's a beautiful car. I think I'm going to snap that up in a moment. The RX 500 as well, the pioneers of the rotary engine, that iconic bread van shape. And the Super GT 500 sold out, but fortunately those of us who got the 20th anniversary edition should already have that in the bank, as has the Alfa Romeo 155, which I'm sure we all know for that screaming V6 engine from the 90s. The Plymouth XNR Roadster, very, very eye-catching design there. I think it's only got 3 gears, if I remember rightly. And the Ford Mark IV race car, the Le Mans Special. I think while I'm here, though, let's get this lovely Wimbledon white Shelby GT350. Snelinsky showing it some love in the comments as well. I'm looking forward to maybe putting some really low suspension on this. Maybe some new rims, whacking a giant supercharger in it if I can, and sending it for a blast round Daytona, I think, of all places. It'll feel right at home. Let's see, maybe while we're here, if they've got anything special to say about it in the cafe. Nope, guess not. Never mind. The Ford Mark IV is one of 3 legendary car trophy cars needed. Okay, looks like it's time for me to grind some more circuit experience and missions then in the next few days. If anyone's still struggling with the Nürburgring one, please let me know, because even pre-patch, where they fixed all the car handling and the snap oversteer, I just could not get my hands around it, and even now it's just the bane of my existence. Maybe I'll give it a shot after this stream ends, but I'm not holding out much hope for myself, if I'm honest. It's been absolutely horrendous. So maybe just while waiting a little bit longer for that race to be set up, let's have a quick peek and see what people are doing to this GT350. I'm sure we've got some wonderful retro liveries on it. Maybe some Tokyo Drift ones, I believe, was the one we saw there. Of course, we've got the Gone in 60 Seconds, Eleanor style livery there. We've got the Tokyo Drift ones, I thought, down here. A Bullet replica as well, which would be really cool. And of course, the iconic white and blue stripes we've seen here. The Hoonicorn, that's quite an interesting take on it, actually. Very, very nice. And covered in flames, of course. What could be more American than that? If Guy Fieri were a car, I think that's what he would be. So, yeah, some really nice takes on these GT350s. And if that doesn't scream America, I don't know what does. Alright, that's enough wasted time. Hopefully this lobby's going to be ready now. It's been, almost half an hour. We should have been good to go. And it's really not gone our way, has it? I think we've been streaming for almost 30 minutes to the dot. We've not had a single moment of racing. Lobby open. Okay. Alright, I'll tell you what then. I'm just going to join the track. We'll all start the race, and as soon as the countdown comes in, I'll jump out the grid as soon as I can. Well, no, the room's unavailable. That's not great. Let's try it again. Alright, get the messages to join. Let's give it a go. I cannot join. This is the last thing we needed. Let's try this maybe. Yep, I still want to be in this one. Let's try it again. That's more like it. Oh, race in progress. Okay then. Oh, there we go. White Snake seems to have gone for it already. Right, well, now we're all bundling up trying to sort out the grid. So, White Snake is on his way. I'm not too sure if he knows what's going on, but he's gone for it. I'm going to quickly ask these guys what's going on. Ah, okay, there he is. So he knows what's going on now. Okay. So I think we see the drivers now resume the correct qualifying order. So we see their airbag making some moves on the inside there to get back in the lead. It looks like Matt has already got a penalty on what is technically the formation lap, which I can't tell if that's an incredible feat of skill or some misfortune, but hopefully that'll be served before we start the race. So make sure we spread some more of the love to our guys in the Discord. Make sure they get tuned in, share their family and friends. Websons, if you're watching, I hope Mrs. Websons is tuned in. This one's going out for you, Mrs. Websons. Likewise, if Daphne Mike, if you've got the stream on as well, hope Finley's watching at home, inspired by his dad, or at least using that as their reason to do better things in racing rather than just consistently being in the midfield. So again, as we watch rugby there, we've got Matt, I think, is running away a little bit just to get some of that penalty served before he starts the actual lap itself. Although, to be fair, he could probably just sit in the pack and serve it with them, because at this point he's just burning fuel. GRM there he'll be effective pole. We've got Airbag in second. I think Matt was third on the grid, if I remember rightly. Mike is there in fourth. Khan in fifth. We've got Urban Fire in sixth. We've got Majid and White Snake there in seventh and eighth. Zielinski in ninth. I think Majid there trying to do his best Max Verstappen impersonation before he got told off for the safety car rules. What a view that is as well. Dog there in P10. Voodoo in 11th. There's Voodoo there. Cartel in 12th and Bertie in 13th. If you look at that wonderful panoramic view there across the lake, I don't think we can. Well, let's watch them as they go through the bus stop as they line up for the formation. Of course, the guys being much more conservative now. I think they're just trying to trundle along at about 60 miles an hour. Maybe keep a nice distance between each car before they get rolling. You can see there, Matt, I think, is now stopping by the penalty area, waiting for everyone to catch up. He's going to just move just to the side of the racing line there, make sure he doesn't impede anybody as they come around. Another plane there, heading into the sky as they speed up a little bit now, getting to 100 miles an hour. So Matt Real to put his foot down now. He's already got a gap behind us, emerging drivers that are not catching up. So Irma Five's telling Khan to get a move on. It looks like we're going to be racing now then, so JRM foot to the floor, leaves them out of the start-finish line for lap one. Airbags already pulled away. A sizable chunk there to Mike, so I guess a little bit of chaos on the line there. Daddy Mike down in P3. Oh, White Snake, what's happened to him? Not sure, maybe he's locked up or caught the grass, but he now finds out at the very back of the pack, unfortunately for him, in P13. Of course, we can't get the replays either on Gran Turismo 7, which is always helpful. So he's at the back there. Let's see, maybe Carl's looking for a move on the inside of Cartel. I don't think he is. Let's run the board there. He's got front row seats for the battle for what is ultimately P8, if I can tell that correctly. Now, interesting to think as well, who was pushing hard on that formation lap, but who's going to be burning through their fuel, and who's going to be driving a little bit more conservatively and trying to protect their tyres and their fuel there, as we see Cartel getting a little bit shaky there through the International Horseshoe, I think it's called, or the West Horseshoe, sorry. Now they head down the short glass to turn 6 and onto NASCAR 1. Cartel taking a little bit of a wide line, just missing the apex, but Khan holding it tight though. It's not gained him much time, and if anything, that is losing him time to Big Crazy Bertie there in the Evo. It'll be interesting how the Evo holds up against the GTR. Only 5 gears and a very long 5th gear, so we have to see just how much he can keep up with it. So we see that the GTR is pulling away, even with Bertie in the slipstream. That gear 5 on the Evo is just not helpful, but hopefully he's sacrificing the Evo here to pick a stronger car at the next round. Let's see if he slide through the pack a little bit there. If Nolitsky can make a run here on Voodoo, as Majid getting very shaky there as he heads back onto the NASCAR oval. So far with Nolitsky there, he's just about on the edge there, but he's not following Voodoo's slipstream, which might be costing him a little bit more time than it's worth to be on the inside. Of course, the slipstream will be pulling him along with the lower air resistance, saving some fuel as well, but less stress on the tyres. So really best staying that slipstream as tight as he can, and now you can see from the delta on that he's gaining that time back as he heads on to lap 3 of what is now 22. Let's move forward just a little bit to see if there's any battling going on over here. It seems that Dog is in the middle of a sandwich there between Urban and Matt, but the driver's now settling into somewhat of their pace. It seems that Urban Fire here in 4 and Daddy Mike in P3 are the start of the train. Airbag and JRM have just flown up the road, but even so, Airbag with a 2.5 second gap now to JRM. So is he saving the fuel and tyres a little bit, or is this just outright pace that he lacks? JRM there with a 1:56.5, so not the same as qualifying pace just yet, but an impressive lap nonetheless. As we said, more or less on par with the NASCAR weaponry of today. So there's Daddy Mike in P3, just come around a corner there. We'll see if we can track onto him as he heads through onto NASCAR 1. Urban Fire there in P4, Dog in 5th, Matt in 6th, Majid in 7th, just ahead of Voodoo, but just keeping in the slipstream in the WRX. Actually, let's run aboard in the Voodoo, because he's catching Majid at quite a speed actually, so maybe Majid is saving some fuel or short shifting, but Voodoo seems to be going all out here. I think as an American feels spiritually obliged to here at Daytona. So down to 5th gear. Oh, what's happened to Majid? Goodness me, it's a huge off there from the Dane. And he's reversing, oh, very close there, almost onto the track itself. And that's going to cost him a lot of time, poor guy. Maybe he's caught the grass slightly, I think. As a Whitesnake and Cartel both pick up penalties, which I can only assume are for violating the track limits, rejoining the oval from the bus stop. So they're both going to serve this penalty, and it looks as well, you see behind us with Whitesnake, Bertie, I think, is going to be the beneficiary of both the penalties. They both hit the penalty zone there. So a big slowdown from the pair of them, but of course, Bertie with that long 5th gear in the Evo just haven't got the grunt to catch back up. I think he had 6 gears, he might well be in for a chance to get in P10. Also, Cartel and Whitesnake maybe had to come in together there. Whitesnake just about holds it and cuts back on the inside of Cartel. Some very close racing here from these two, allowing Bertie back into the mix. Bertie looking for a way past Cartel. He tried to go on the outside, but no avail there. Cartel very late on the brakes, getting very slidey as well on the GTR. He and Whitesnake both run very wide. Bertie with a much neater line there. This is going to allow Cartel for a chance to defend on the outside. Let's have a look. Looks like the Evo just has the momentum heading out that corner. He takes P11. It's hard to tell that if there's been another move made as they head out through the West Horseshoe. I don't think it's been any dice there. So Bertie up into P11, but can he catch Whitesnake before he loses all of that speed heading onto the oval? No, not quite. So we'll leave that one for just a little bit. Cartel looks like he's having a go at Nolinsky, so we jump through with Nolinsky instead. He's still giving it all the beans, so maybe just a slightly better run onto the oval for Khan, and he will take P8 on the inside there of Nolinsky. If I were Nolinsky, I'd probably just lift off now, sit in the slipstream, and maybe overtake him on the exit of the bus stop. Let's have a ride on board though. Nolinsky, I think, is still running side by side with him. He is indeed. He's going later on the brakes, and they're both side by side through the bus stop. Oh, but Cantona just leaves in space. Some very bold driving from this pair. However, I'm not really sure that's in Nolinsky's best interest, because Khan could quite easily have him with the slipstream on the crackback as they head back onto the finish line for lap 5. Let's have a look. Cantona, he's just holding about that 0.3. If anything, he's maybe letting go slightly. So maybe he's in a lower fuel mix. Because he clearly had the slipstream, but he's instead slowing down. So I can only assume he's turning the fuel down just a little bit. We can see the Linsky just over half a tank, a quarter tank of fuel there. It looks like Urban Fire has must have been clipped the barrier there heading into turn 1. That's cost him a heck of a lot of time to the drivers ahead and brought the Linsky and Cantona just within distance there. You see them heading past the pit exit there. Meanwhile, if we jump to the front, it looks like Jerem and Airbag are having a bit of an auto change here. No, actually, I think Airbag has taken the lead convincingly now from Jerem, who is now falling to the clutches of Daddy Mike and Matt in tow there. So this could now be an emerging battle for P2. It does look as well that Mike is much later on the brakes at turn 6, or the in and out. He's much later brakes there than JRM, so I think we'll run on board there with Matt and see if Mike is looking to brave a move around the inside or outside of JRM heading into the bus stop. Let's see if those two ahead in the WRX, Matt here in the GTR. Any gains to be made on the bus stop? They're braking just before the 1 marker there. Really convincingly over the roll strip there. Mike ran very wide midway through the bus stop. This has given Matt much momentum. He's going to go around the outside, maybe consider a bump draft. I think I'd probably go for the bump draft, make sure he's staying in the toe of the car in front as well. He's going to try and make a move around the outside. This is very bold, not what I'd advise, but this is going to make for some good racing heading onto the finish line, and maybe we'll get another shot like this on the final lap to see if someone makes a place by the absolute edge of gap there. Looks like Matt is around the outside, but Mike will still have the inside line for turn 1. Matt, though, the late break is very late indeed, but all the way around the outside of Mike and makes it stick, I think. Yes, it does for P3. A very bold move there in the GTR. So, we've got Matt there in P4. Urban Fire in the lead. That can't be right. Yes, he's found himself in the wall again, so that makes a bit more sense there. Down to P11. Strange glitch there. Linsky, if it lets him pass, and maybe there was an instant there with some brakes. And a 30.5 second penalty for Urban Fire. Well, I think that's put paid to his race. The game must be assuming that he's trying to cut the track, I think, and instead he's lost a couple of places. He's lost 30 seconds, he's lost his life savings, he's lost his house, his job. And probably a huge run down the last straight as well. So, poor guy, it's not been his race. Someone who is enjoying themselves, though, is this man here, Airbag, on lap 6 of 22. So, maybe about 2/3 of a tank of fuel there. Kyle in the chat, they're going, wow. I don't think I've ever seen a penalty as large as that just dropped on his head, but the bombshell that it is. So Airbag running away this one in P1 by 5 and a bit seconds. Jerem in P2 is now starting to pull back away from Matt there in P3. He's got Daddy Mike still hot on his heels there in P4. Let's see just how much time he can reel in on Matt. So we saw they were 7 tenths behind as they came out of the bus stop. He's now just shy of 6 tenths. I think that GTR just has the top end on the Subaru. He's only about able to keep in touch with it on these straights. He's going to reel him in, but only by about 1/2 tenth, I think. Maybe 1/10 by the time they get into the braking zone. But this is where the Subaru should have the edge over the GTR. Much better on the brakes, a little bit nimbler through the corners. He's lost some time on the entry though, so maybe slightly compromised in the braking zone, not as late as he could have been. Maybe he needs a bit more trust in the brakes, but of course these four-wheel drive cars will just start eating through their front tyres as they pull out of the traction zone. Again, another oversight I think on Gran Turismo's part is not having customizable brake bias as default on the GR series of cars. So of course these four-wheel drives will really start chewing through the front tyres on braking, on turning, on corner exit as well, where they're having to work twice as hard. So this is going to be a real war of attrition as to who can make their tyres, I think, as well as the fuel last as long as it can. Of course the fuel is going to be an issue for everyone, where so much of this track will be flat out. But really in this middle handling sector where they need to have the grip to turn in and not run wide onto the grass or incur any other strange penalties, that's where we're going to see maybe the Subaru have a bit more of an element over the GTR. See then Mike now trying to close back in on Matt. We saw he lost a lot of time there at the start of the infield, but made it all back, it seems, heading back onto the oval. But again, that GTR doesn't seem to have the punch in a straight line. Let's see how Mike handles the bus stop, and maybe here is where he's just losing that time. Just maybe not brave enough through the bus stop. He's lost half a second there on the loan to Matt, who I don't think he's have a penalty for his troubles. No, if anything, he's absolutely nailed the bus stop. So gaining on Mike there, it seems. Having said that, Mike now seems to be trying to tuck back in the slipstream, so maybe slightly missed shift there from the GTR. But it seems at least four are just starting to settle into a rhythm now there, as is ATC Dog, who didn't have a great qualifying from what I saw, but I finds himself in P5. Voodoo as well, who I've normally seen not in the midfield, unfortunately, but now finds himself in P6. A great job for him, as is Cantona well in P7 there. Whitesnake, after his escapades into the walls and things, is now in 8th with Big Crazy Bertie right on his trail. But again, that 5th gear GTR, so Evo just hasn't had the best run, and he's struggling to get past. Maybe he's going to try and hassle him on the infield instead. Let's see how he does. Braking very late there. We'll just turn the camera slightly. Whitesnake goes wide. The Evo goes for the cutback. Now they'll be side by side as they head up towards the pit exit. This is going to be very close. But it seems that the GTR is going to defend quite aggressively to the inside line. Is there another cutback on here from Bertie? No, I don't think it's the GTR. Still holding inside line and parks it on the outside. So no way through here for Bert. Of course, that Snake sliding all the way across the track there to keep the Evo at bay. Let's see, maybe there's another cutback. He's gone very wide to the entry there, so maybe a late apex here. Flat to the floor, out second gear, but again, just not quite using all the track, and that's going to cost him. How about on the run onto the oval section there? It's been down in second gear, very tight to the apex, quite early on the power. Oh, and they are very close to being side by side there. Bertie will have the inside line, but here is where you might see the GTR just start to edge away with that extra gear that it's got up its sleeve. Let's see. So now as we watch that Evo put into 50, you can see it's going to really slow down out there. It's just a sitting duck as the GTR starts to fall past. It's going to be very hairy over heading at the bus stop. Who's got the nerve? Whitesnake is later on the brakes, but he's not quite made the race in line. They're still side by side. Bertie running outside through the left hand and the right hand of the bus stop. Very brave there. Some excellent driving from these two. Well, I'm sure we'll now see Whitesnake get past with the slipstream. Let's have a look there as he heads on to the final two corners. And again, you can see in the bottom left of their screen there, the fuel starting to come down. Whitesnake there, right in the toe there, and now going to the inside of 30. And these front tyres really are taking a pounding now, so I won't be surprised if in the next maybe 3 laps or so, halfway through this race, we'll see drivers coming to make what I assume will be the one and only stop that they'll need to make. Of course, soft tyres being the only compound available for them today. So it's just about making them last as long as they can. Let's shuffle forward again. We can see the arrows starting to pile up a little bit as they head out of the International Horseshoe. We can see that it looks like Matt is still trying to reel in JRM in that bright green monster Subaru. Matt had a decent run though out of the out of the infield. Let's see if he's got any gains to make on the Subaru. Of course, really crucial here that he stays right into the slipstream of that WRX, right underneath its rear wing, avoid all of that extra air to the sides of it, and stay sleek and sharp as an arrow as they head into the bus stop. Let's see how he handles it, braking very late. Made some time on Jeremy already there, about 2/10 I think, but he's just not got the grip to meet the apex. See that Jeremy had a bit of an issue with that himself though, is now costing him time. And of course, any losses that you make on the exit of the bus stop, you have to carry all the way through back to turn 1. You can see about half a second coming out of the bus stop has been reduced to now to a quarter of a second as they head towards the start finish line. And again, that GTR just has a huge speed advantage on many of the other cars in its class. You see though, Matt actually lifting off the throttles, maybe happy to sit behind JRM, save some fuel, or know that it's not worth battling for P2 when airbags, you can see, is about 7 seconds up the road. Let's see, actually we made that now, so it's 7.5 seconds. He's had a tremendous run through turn 1, almost 8 seconds now in fact, as they head onto the International Horseshoe. So really, Airbag is running away with this. It's just about how much time he loses in the pits, it seems. If we have a look at there, he's got slightly more fuel than Jerem as well. His tyres are in very good condition. He's not had to be battling with anybody. So this really, I think as I predicted, is his race to lose. But again, we have seen consistency issues with Airbag in the past. And then of course the last thing you want to see is the airbag deploying from a crash. So this better make sure that he keeps it on the road and in one piece. Jerem eking out that gap back to a second, but he's not had the best run there out of the final corner heading onto the oval. This could be another chance for Matt to eke in a little bit more of the gap. You can see the delta just fluctuating there around the 9/10 mark, so he's got to start reading him in soon or he will lose time on the pit stop, I think. Mike is about 2.5 second cushion either side of him to Matt in third and Dog in fifth. Then a huge gap there on his own island, it seems, is Voodoo in P6. 6.5 seconds one way, 9 seconds the other way to Cantona. We've got Whitesnake and Bertie still going at it, it seems. Whitesnake with those incredibly warm front tyres, he needs to come in very soon. Bertie though, looking for the slipstream, see maybe he's got a move he can make on Whitesnake. That GTR looking hella thick from back there. You can't do that while we're driving, it's a distraction. Whitesnake defending very aggressively. Bertie actually leaving the track, so he might just incur a penalty. That's not very nice of Whitesnake there. I think when he knows he's got a chance alongside him, that's something I might consider investigating later. One thing is worth noting though, that Evo's been very kind to its front tyres, it seems. So while he's been drinking fuel, they seem to be better on the front tyres. So it might be worth thinking of Bertie, would he need to change tyres, given that some of his rivals already got halfway worn tyres as they reach the end of their first stints. Nobody's going to the pits just yet though, so I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 more laps before we see them making their entries. Minsky there in P10, Majid in 11th, Urban Fire after his ridiculous, it was a 13.5 second penalty down in 12th, but he's still serving that penalty as he crossed the finish line, bless him. And Cartel at the back of the grid in 13th place. So let's see, Matt has finally made his way past JRM for P2. I think what he wants to do now is just nurse that GTR around the track so he can get into the pits without any issues. If we quickly compare though, Jerem has got slightly less fuel, so that might cost him a second or two in the pit lane, which could be the difference between him keeping or losing the slipstream from Matt once they make their stops. Of course, it's yet to see if anyone's going to go for an undercut or an overcut. Oh, sorry, we're going to go for an undercut or an overcut, which could mix things up. So let's run on board though with Jerem. He sits in the slipstream of that GTR. See, he's got anything to answer as they head back out onto the NASCAR circuit. And is anyone going to bite the bullet and make their pit stop? You see they're having to drive very aggressively to avoid a corner cutting penalty on the inside there, but it's owned back about 0.8 of a second, it seems. And as Jerem looks for a move on the outside, let's see, is Matt going to pit? Is Jerem going to pit? Are they both staying out for one more lap? See, they've got the fuel to do so. Jerem moves to the inside. They're going to go for one more lap. As Brad's tuning in, saying it seems to be shaped to be a great race. Well, you tuned at the right point because you spent half an hour just trying to get the thing started. Jerem though has got it stopped, which is good to say, into turn 1. He takes P2, but Matt looking for a cut on the inside. They'll be side by side as they go past the pit exit. That's very tight racing. Matt almost into the barrier as Voodoo pits there from P6, I believe it is. Jerem will keep P2, but of course this fighting is only serving to increase the gap to Airbag, who's now got a 6.7 second lead. Of course we saw that 7.5 earlier, so maybe a dodgy run through the corkscrew or turn 1 has put paid to some of his time there. And Matt though has suddenly just dropped off there. He was again only about half a second behind, now finds himself 2.1 seconds, so maybe he realises he's got a bit of a job to do to maybe save some more fuel and he's sure he keeps out the slipstream. But of course he won't be saving any time in the pits if he then throws it away on the track, so he's got to catch up to JRM to jump him in the pits. Mike here with his flashing red fuel, so he's got about 10% or so left there. He's going to have to come in next lap. ATC Dog looks like he could do quite a few more actually, not just on those tyres but definitely on that fuel. 25% left in the tank, that's good enough for maybe at least another 2 laps I would say. Cantona there on his own in P6 as we saw Voodoo pitting earlier. Bertie in 7th with a healthy gap there over Majid. Urban Fire in 9th. Cartel is in 10th. Voodoo's left the pits in 11th, and right on the heels of Cartel. So let's see if we can find the difference between the worn and the new tyres. Linsky and Whitesnake also pitting there. Whitesnake, I think, just about to leave the pits, as is Linsky there. So again, under fueling, so don't need a whole tank. They don't think they save a little bit more. Try and fuel save for the second stint there. So again, you see Voodoo really late on the brakes there, much later than Cartel, and better traction out of there. Cartel having to defend already to the inside as Airbag dives into pits for lead. JRM going around one more time. Matt goes into pits with always similar fuel to Airbag, so their gap should stay the same. Mike go 5% fuel, so that's going to cost him some time. It's the leaders there, and I think the battle will be then to see if JRM is going to have the jump on on Airbag. You know, it's about a 6-second lead to those two. Voodoo though is looking a bit feisty. They're going to try and go all the way around the outside of Cartel. Let's lead this camera up here as they battle down the back straight. What an amazing view this is. Voodoo's nudged ahead before the bus stop. Here comes the braking zone. And very late the brakes from Voodoo, but you can see they're so much more aggressive over the curbs. And he's taken another half second out of Cartel. He's going to try and claw it back as they head back onto the oval, but Voodoo should be quite easy in the clears. I'm sure Cartel will have to pit on the next lap or so. Actually, maybe not. He's got a fair amount of fuel in the tank, but those tyres are definitely past their best. Whitesnake and Linsky have already pitted, so we should be seeing JRM jump into the pits fairly soon. He's gone up for one more lap again, so he's really trying to eke out all of that fuel. Matt leaves the pits there with 77% fuel. There's his pit exit there. That puts him 8.3 seconds behind Airbag. So JRM's got a lot to do to try and eke out that gap to Airbag, because he's going to easily overcut him, I believe. So I think what we're going to do then, as he heads out the bus stop, we're going to ride on board there with JRM. He'll be in for his pit stop any moment now. So we're going to see those mechanics get to work, chop the tyres off, put some fuel in, and let's see where he comes out in relation to Airbag. So heading round at NASCAR 4. I mean, it's all really in the same corner, isn't it? But let's see, he should be diving into the pits any moment now. There he goes. As we see some eager Amigos mechanics ready to assist our man here in the pits. ATC Dog also coming in not too much later, but with a significant amount of fuel more than JRM. This could put him in contention for a podium place should his pit stop go smoothly. What we're going to do then, we're going to ride on board. Cartel's going to jump into the pits as well, as is Bertie, I would assume. Nose could go around one more time. It's very brave of him. So we're going to jump on board with Airbag. He's now going to be heading around the start-finish straight. Let's see just how much time he will gain on those in the pits. So he said it's about a 6 or 7 seconds before the stops were made. So let's see where where JRM comes out of the pits. So JRM is still in the pits, still nowhere to be seen. So there goes Airbag past the pit exit. Mike is also about to come past the pit exit. I believe here comes JRM with 76%. He's been, oh, look at that as well. Dog is literally inside his car. And just that tiny bit of fuel saving there has now put Dog into a real chance of a podium position here. We know that Bertie's got to pit from the lead, so his race at this point is irrelevant for these three. But I think the one to watch here will be ATC Dog. So you can see there, these are three Subarus, I believe. Oh, it was Matt in the GTR, I can't quite remember. Matt, yeah, he's in the GTR. So we've got the two double X's here and the Airbag as well in P2, all swarming around that GTR of Matt, who's currently in P3. Crucially though, if we do a little bit of maths, we see where JRM is here. That's 9, that is about 10 seconds. So in fact, he's lost about another 4 seconds to Airbag through that pit stop phase, which is, I'm sure, must be devastating. You must know at this point that his race is pretty much done, but he still has a chance to secure a podium place. The issue is, these three drivers only separated by about a second either way. The slightest mistake, the slightest whiff of slipstream could be all they need just to get that second wind and snag a podium spot here. Again, Jeremy seems very aggressive through those bankings, but Matt was not. It seems very shaky going through the bus stop. He's gained a half second on him already. Bertie in the pits there with no fuel in the tank left at all. Let's see how Jeremy makes his pass on Matt. He's going to go inside or outside, and where is Dog in all of this? 1.6 seconds back, so he's got nothing to do with it. Jeremy revving the absolute heck out of that Boxer engine in the WRX, moves to the outside, but I don't think he's got enough momentum to get away from Matt. Let's jump to the outside view as he heads into turn 1, because it's very tricky braking zone. No one really knows where it is. Jeremy turning in a bit too early, in fact, giving Matt another bit of breathing space, and crucially giving Dog about half a second of free time to catch back up to the battling pair. And of course, if they fight too much, Dog's only going to make this a three-way party. The Airbag now 11 seconds ahead, or 10.5 seconds ahead of P2. So a battle here that's really, only for the top 3 spots now. Of course, all 3 drivers would hate to be off the podium for their first race. But it could go anywhere, so do not take your eyes away. I'm going to take my eyes away just for a moment and see what's happening on down the field. Mike marooned up there in P5, as is Voodoo in 6th. Bertie looks like he's just made 2 places there on Cantona and Cartel, who both seem to have gone off there. Khan has left the room, so maybe a disconnection there from him. He's been prone to internet issues in the past. Carter there in P8, again, who hasn't made his pit stop yet, so he'll probably find himself at the back of the pack once all is said and done. White Snake there on fairly fresh rubber in P9, should be an easy move for him, I think, in the impending future. And in fact, I think he's looking to make that move sooner rather than later. I'm sure we'll see an easy cutback here on Cartel, as he slightly wide of that apex. White Snake looking to get momentum ready around the outside. It's not happening there, but I'm sure it will happen as they head down the main straight. Again, that Cartel's car, all kinds of bouncing there. I think White Snake really knows where to go in this instance. And maybe this is more, maybe if there's one thing the update's brought in, it must be porpoising from the looks of it. But there goes White Snake around the outside. If our Cartel, I really wouldn't bother to fight this. You can see the state of his tyres would only make it dangerous. You can see he has to brake much earlier, and even then, just about avoids running into the back of White Snake, but he's still going very wide through the bus stop, as is Cartel, so these guys really need to start getting it stopped. Blitsky very shaky there through the bus stop himself. Majid and Urban Fire fighting their own battles at the back there, trying to keep themselves in contention. Matt has now eked out a 3-second gap to JRM, so it must have been a slight off there that I've missed while surveying some of the action at the back. This puts Dog to within only half a second now of JRM, so this will be a fight to keep an eye on. I'll make sure I actually do this time rather than miss the action scrolling through the field. It's right on board with Dog, we've not been on with him for a little while. See there, JRM getting a bit squirmy under the brakes. Dog being a little bit more consistent through the corner there, braking a straight line, easily turning in. Again, that must be what helped him save his tyres and fuel early. He's been slightly less aggressive, saving some fuel in the infield and only revving it out on the oval. Again, much tighter line earlier on the throttle, but using 3rd gear maybe to reduce the wheel spin, reduce the stress on those tyres. A little short shift there into 5th, but needs to make sure he keeps in the slipstream there of Jared. Might be worth just a full shift here, just to keep himself on the very coattails of the draft. You can see though, airbag now, I think from Jared is about 13 seconds away, so he really has driven flat out all race long, and credit to him where, as you said before, we've seen him prone to mistakes during the race. He hasn't made quite a convincing effort of this one. So Dog, you can see, is still trying to save some fuel here, but it is coming at the cost of the slipstream to JRM. So you've got to make sure that he finds that balance between saving fuel, which he did very well in the first stint, and the sacrifice of the slipstream. You can see in terms of fuel, there's not much left in it, so it depends if JRM's got enough to go flat out to the end, because if not, that might be when Dog finds his chance to attack, and we'll see if that Dog's bark is worse than its bite. Again, we've still got Mike here on his own for the most part here in P5, and that lovely blue, red and yellow Amigos livery. Voodoo in 6th place. Bertie is now gapped White Snake by quite a way from before, and is now in P7 with 8 seconds up on the GTR. White Snake was still battling with Cartel earlier, heading down towards the bus stop. Has now moved on from him with a 6-second gap, and he's to be passed by Nalinsky, serving a penalty before he heads into the pits there for his one and only stop of the race. 16 laps on those soft tyres is very commendable, it must be said, but I don't think it's going to be doing him any favours, as Majid and Urban Fire need to make their way around as well. So it really seems the drivers are starting to settle down once again into a rhythm as they head on to the last 6 laps of the race. Matt there, half a tenth purple as he heads onto the oval, start of the second sector. JRM is 1.9 seconds away from Matt, so these three were fairly bunched up before, but now I think they're starting to spread out, maybe based on who's trying to put the hammer down early and who's going to get it flat out at the end. JRM clearly going flat out now, a 777 up on the previous best lap. Let's see though if he's going to carry some of that Las Vegas luck through the bus stop. Yeah, of course he is. He's always very aggressive through there. WRX very balanced, but too aggressive it seems. He's 8 tenths purple, but he's losing all of that and more in that half-second penalty as he heads through the penalty gates. And we'll watch this from the perspective of dogs. We can see that WRX will just lift off for a moment. He's currently 3.9, maybe 4 seconds as he heads through the penalty gate, but now we'll see just how much time he reels back in. So it's 3.98 as he heads over the penalty gate. He's really taken in about a second on JRM, so that half second has really turned into 1.5 as they head into the braking zone here for turn 1. So it's crucial they avoid the penalties. So we're going to flick through one more time if there's any more battling going on. Again, I think the drivers are now starting to settle into their pace and find their place. So there's not too much going on here. Cartel now fresh out the pits with his one stop for the race. Unfortunately, finds himself at the back of the grid. He's getting the blue flags now as well to make sure he stays clear of the airbag, I believe, coming through there. Yep, and that is indeed airbag, again with a 10.8 second gap to those behind him, so it should be a comfortable win for this man here in the Subaru. As mentioned before, all the cars tonight, the Group 4 4-wheel drive cars. However, from what I'm aware, the cars they've chosen for this event will not be available again when they next race the Group 4s. They'll be mixed in between a Group 4 and Group 3 machinery, and whatever they've driven tonight will not be eligible for a choice for the next event. So Airbag will then have to choose the GTR or the Evo and so on. So of course each driver is trying to pick the cars they know to their strength, which one's got the best straight line speed, which is the best in the corners. And we can see here Airbag's definitely made a comfortable choice for himself in that WRX. An 11-second gap now, only helped with the slipstream there of Cartel. We've got Matt here in P2, just trying to eke out that gap there from JRM. 1.9 seconds floating around there for the last lap or so, so he's done quite well. JRM is now 4 seconds up on Dog down in P4, so this is time now with only 4 laps to go. I think Dog really needs to put the hammer down. He's on about the same amount of fuel, so he needs to get going, because at this point they are just going to be neck and neck. I do think Dog is going to be slightly quicker than JRM on the 1 lap pace, but we know that JRM has been really improving over the past few months. His racecraft has really jumped to a whole new level as well. He's become more aware tactically, knowing where to position the car for defence, and it's been a real pleasure to see him improve and develop as a driver. And I think he'll be happy with a podium, but I think if he knows that he can reel in Matt, he's already done so by 3 tenths of a second already, so there is a chance he could still snag P2 provided he keeps it tidy. He's not had the best run there through the West Horseshoe, but having taken out 2 tenths of Matt in the middle sector, it really could go anywhere as they head now back onto the oval, using all of second gear there, all of third gear, again pushing really hard to try and get that purple lap from Airbag. I'm not too sure if there's a point for the fastest lap, but he's going for it. It's another 2 tenths he's taken out of Matt there, heading around NASCAR 2. Now with 1 second he should be just about on the verge of the slipstream, still about hundredths of a second purple. Let's see how aggressive he takes this bus stop once again. So down to 4th gear, he's taken a lot of that inside curve. That may warrant a penalty, we'll have to see. Avoids the last one. Another 2 tenths taken out of Matt there, so he is putting foot to the floor, and he's gained another tenth for the purple lap as well. We'll see if the slipstream will get him to that 154. It should be good enough for maybe a 154.6, I would estimate, provided he keeps it tight to the line. Still within 6 tenths there of Matt, and pulling away even further from Dog now, 5.8 seconds. So I think this is Phil Rady Dog's dinner of that strategy. It's a 154.5, so a huge toe to the line. puts him clear of Airbag's best time by 2 tenths of a second there. And of course, really reeling in Matt 237. So now I have to see if he can make the move in these next 3 laps. We just see their car tower in the background, maybe impending lap traffic, and will that hamper these two as they battle for those other 2 spots on the top of the podium? So JRM still pushing another 1/4 of a tenth there, taken out of his own fastest lap there. Of course, as the cars are lightened from fuel, they'll be a bit more agile through the corners, a bit quicker to accelerate. They'll be able to brake later. But of course, all that will come at the expense of those tyres. We know that they've been run ragged, but of course, 1/4 of a tank less fuel in when you put them on should help preserve them comfortably to the end of the race. Now 6 tenths, make that 5 tenths, it seems, 5.5 tenths, as he heads onto the oval once more. Let's see if he can reel in that GTR anymore. Again, we know that GTR has a lot of straight line speed, but the slipstream and the Subaru there with the boxer engine trying to really punch above its weight to catch that GTR. He's now less than 4 tenths away as they head towards the bus stop. Again, we need another aggressive bus stop here from JRM. He's tucked the inside a little bit early there. That's going to compromise him. He's gone far too wide there. It's going to cost him all that time he's made up to Matt. He's going to evaporate before his very eyes. Oh, it's a real shame to see, although Matt looks like he's slowed down just slightly maybe. No, he hasn't. No, he's definitely got his foot down there. And now JRM's going to lose all that time out the bus stop all the way around to turn 1. He'll probably find himself maybe about almost a second has been lost through that one slight mistake on the entry. I really hope that's not the last of the fight we're going to see from these 2 guys, because everyone else we can see here is fairly spread out in terms of their field position. No one's really got anyone nearby. It all kicked off at the start of the race. I think the closest they are really is Urban Fire to Majid in 10th and 11th respectively. I don't see that being a battle anytime soon. We might see some overtakes here with Cartel being lapped by Matt, but again, it's not the action we were hoping for. Airbag in a world of his own right now. 12.5 seconds up now on Matt with 2 laps to go. So again, this is really his race to lose, but I don't see it happening. Looks like JRM did reel in Matt by about 2 tenths of a second, and now he's going to have almost that whole second back there as he heads out of the infield sector. So he's really pushing hard through this middle road course element of Daytona Speedway. The issue now, I think, is that Matt might just have the slipstream of Cartel, and this could be a problem when he wants to make his overtake. However, JRM really pushing now. He's back within that half-second window of Matt as they head towards the bus stop one more time. He's really got to have a good run through that corner to ensure he can make the pass towards the finish line. Cartel, I think, maybe sticking to the left-hand side, hopefully try and not get away from the bus stop. Oh, it's not the best place to do it. He needs to be out of the way now. He is out of the way now. Very late on the brakes there from JRM. Lines that up and hooks it very nicely. Matt has gone slightly wide again. JRM early on the power there, and now only 3 tenths to play with as they head towards the finish line. Let's get another cinematic view as they head towards the end of lap 21. JRM and Matt now with almost identical amounts of fuel. So this really is now a hot lap for P2. It could go either way. So I'm going to stay with this battle as we head on to lap 22 of 22. JRM moves to the inside there, almost on the infield. He's just scraping the yellow line. Inseparable over the line. I think only 9,000th of a second in it. If we could get one more of those, that would be fantastic. But JRM holds the inside line there, brakes glowing under turn 1. Matt looking for a cutback, but there's no room there. JRM holding and parking that Subaru wide as it can be as they head over the pit exit line into the start of the International Horseshoe there. Matt, though, clinging to him like stink on a skunk, as they might say in that part of the world. Still only 4 tenths in it as they head around JRM. You can tell he's been pushing 1.5 tenths purple on his fastest lap. So he needs to make sure he can get away. Of course, he's late on the brakes. He's gone for the later apex. Matt don't think was expecting it. That's going to cost him some time on the exit. Having to correct their mid-corner. It will achieve a run on board there with JRM. I have to hold the button here on the controller. Matt got a much more aggressive inside line there. It's not quite got the same momentum. I mean, now we see JRM pulling away, but I'm sure we will see that gap reduced once more as Matt sticks in the slipstream. You can see it's still increasing, actually, to be fair, at about 4 tenths, but now we can see it claw back as the GTR rears its head and Godzilla stretches its arms. It's tiny, puny dinosaur arms out of the Subaru. 2.5 tenths as they make their way into the braking zone. Jerem definitely later on the brakes there than Matt. They both had a fairly good run. Matt again just missing as much of the apex as he could, and this is where we're going to see our final run to the line. So they're both holding that tight inside line as they can. Jerem moving to the outside, maybe trying to get a slipstream back past Matt, but I'm not sure that's the best advice to take. Airbag is going to take the win over the line. Here he is. I've just missed it, but it is going to line, as Kyle says. Jerem let Matt through early. I think he might just pay for that. It's going to be neck and neck, but Matt will take it on the line, will he? All by 17 hundredths of a second. It was Matt, so Jerem just played his cards slightly wrong there at the end. Dodd will take P4. What a close finish that was at the end, wasn't it, guys? Mike there, I'm sure will be quite happy with a P5, a good result for him. We've got Big Crazy Bertie about to come home in 6th place as well, it looks like. 2 and a bit seconds down the road, there is Voodoo. Unfortunately for him, not going to get any results here. His home track, and in fact, he might just run out of fuel as he heads over the line. He's having to feather the throttle there to keep momentum going. There he is, he's conked out, but just in time, secures P7. Whitesnake here in a P8 makes his way over the finish line in that Pennzoil GTR. Linsky has run out of fuel, so he's be crawling to the end. The question is, are Urban Fire and Majid going to be anywhere near him as they get to his line? They might just, and Majid actually also trying to claw down Urban Fire, so we have to see who gets the best run, who gets a penalty. Majid might have just incurred a penalty, but they're both going to have to get past Linsky, and I think they will do quite comfortably. Of course, they'll be nudging. Well, no, they won't. Majid's run out of fuel. Majid is out, so now it's all on the Urban Fire. Has he got just enough in the tank to get past Linsky? There he is. They're strict on the left-hand side of the track. Urban Fire will comfortably get himself up into P9. So I'll be very, very grateful for that one after that atrocious penalty he had to serve earlier. And this should see Linsky trundle over the line in P10 and Majid in P11. There's Linsky. And he just miscalculated the fuel there. Majid there with slightly more momentum, having run out after the bus stop, brings it home in P11. Cartel, we saw a lap down in P12. But here's your winner by 12 seconds and very convincing fashion, Airbag. What an intense finish that was as well from Matt and Jerem. Only 17 hundredths of a second in it. It could have gone absolutely anywhere. What an incredible race we've seen today. I'm sure those three will be having a good bit of banter in the lobby afterwards, but an excellent race we've seen here at Daytona, and it should only be better next week with the Tier 1 event. So I hope you've enjoyed the content this evening. Again, can I offer my apologies for the half-hour delay with the nightmare lobbies of GT7. But I've been SuperSquid. Hope you have a restful Monday evening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you same time next week for the Tier 1 Round 2. Take care of yourselves and have a good evening.